up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse, fuck Spirit Airlines. This is State of the Game. Thank you for being here. I am Dano, remarkable only in the fact that I got smart trying to be like my mom. And my co-host, who, if my co-host was a Beatles song, you would be Get Back.
Okay.
Hey, Diggy, thank you for being here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you. This is episode 198.
Wow.
We are rocketing towards 200. So I am excited. You know, it's just good to exist this long, okay?
Yeah, 198 weeks.
You can't look the success, whatever. We still exist here, and that's pretty cool. So guess I'll tell you, in terms of personal effect this guest has had on my life. My family respects me more now because of this guest. We went to see the Strange Famous show as a family, and we got to see Jesse the Tree live. We got to see Sage live. But Myles was the one who had my family just wide-eyed, like, you know? And they were like, this guy's great. I'm like, I've told you Myles is great. And they were like, yeah, but you say that about lots of people. I'm like, I'm right, though. So they now take my opinion a little more seriously because Myles Bullen live is an incredible thing. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Second time on the show. And I appreciate, because we just kind of, we had a really interesting, we had a guest last week, Liam Bailey, incredible singer, songwriter. And he had just released an album that was diametrically different to the one he did before. And that growth by oppositional kind of perspectives, this album, this run from Mourning Travels and Time to Kill, which is your release this year from last year, is a really great study, I think, for people who make music or listen to music. You don't have to necessarily abandon what you did before. You can use what you did before to grow into an even higher level. Because I love this album. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, first official question, because like I said, my son is a huge fan of Myles Bullen. I asked him if he could ask Myles Bullen one question. What would it be? 10 years old. His question to you: what is your favorite song that you've ever written?
Oh wow, 10-year-old?
Yeah, smarter than me. He's got it on.
Dang. My favorite song I've written, probably the new one. The one no one's heard.
Oh wow, the next song, yeah.
I stay on the pulse of like what's exciting me, and it's usually something new. It's usually something I'm just kind of discovering. So favorites tend to change as I tend to change and do new things. So yeah, my favorite thing right now is a piece I wrote called Razor Blades of Grass, and it's only available on my Patreon at the moment.
Oh, Myles Bullen Patreon, jump in.
That's it. That's my plug.
I love it.
So tell that 10-year-old to get a job and sign up to my. Just kidding.
He's got an allowance. Maybe he can save him. And he's got a phone, whatever. So he's on his way. But no, the people don't like, whenever interviewers are asking rappers to rank their albums from like 20 years ago, right? I always get a little squeamish about it because I've written I've written everything I could possibly write: essays, plays, poems, but on and on. And when you're in that zone, I used to try and write 10 pages a week. You know what I mean? Like I was
Wow.
working, like I was trying to get better. And I never had time to sit back and re-rank and think about these past, like I was never in that. I was always like in the zone, trying to stay in the zone, you know? Uh, and so I totally understand that, whenever an artist is like, my new album is my best album, that's the normal answer to me. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more about what my favorite is, like what I enjoy doing the most. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think it's like learning something new and like because there's still some urgency and some like exploring to do
Yep.
with new material for me. Like I'm kind of revisiting it every time with a fresh mind and I'm trying out new things and so it's still a growing it feels like it still has like a lot of movement
Yep.
and a
Yep.
lot of shaping to do and I that's my favorite part of the process of like songwriting. So yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Because you've always had the ability to kind of sit with an acoustic guitar and make a song, right? And then put that next to a rap song, right? You've always had that, but I think you've been able to build the contrast and play with the contrasts between those worlds um, in incredible ways.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite. I actually I actually started on writing rap songs like over beats.
Sure.
And then I learned ukulele just in the past few years
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
started like songwriting in a different way.
Hmm.
Kind of pulling from more folk, anti-folk, folk punk influences. But yeah, I
And,
definitely
and
started not playing instruments. Yeah.
and what was it about the ukulele that kind of awoken something in you?
That's a great question. And my answer is it's the easiest instrument to learn.
Boom.
I
This is
have like
this.
I my ADHD is like really intense and so when I go to like focus on something, if I don't have a little bit of instant gratification, then I odds are I won't focus on it and I won't get good at it because I won't
Right.
spend the time doing it. But with ukulele, there's such instant gratification because to play an entire chord, you just need one finger on one string. You could play a C chord, which is holding one finger down on one string and strumming all four strings, and that's a whole chord. So I was like, wow, I can play a chord, and it took me 10 seconds to learn. And then I just like kind of learned a bunch of chords, and then I just felt really confident in the ability to do something that's very simple. So that's why I picked the ukulele, and the reason I've stuck with it because guitar is still really hard for me and challenging. Um, so yeah, that's why that's why I play the ukulele because it's easy.
That's amazing. That's a great thing. But I was
Yeah.
listening to stuff you were doing with the ukulele back in like 2020. Like,
Yeah.
so when did you start the journey with that?
That's when I really started using it as performing and writing with it. I guess I've been playing around with ukulele for like, I don't know, 10 years maybe.
Hmm.
But I never like really owned one and focused on writing songs. I just like play it, at friends' houses or something. Um, but yeah, in 2020 when I wrote Healing Hurts, when I put that record out, a lot of those songs were ukulele focused. So,
Hmm.
and even in Not Dead Yet, I had a couple ukulele tunes that I was playing, and that was in 2018. So the ukulele goes back to at
Hmm.
least 2018 of my
That's
songs.
awesome. No, and but that must have, how when you started that and you got confident enough to put those songs on albums.
Yeah,
How did it change how you constructed your albums?
yeah. So I think, well, so in 2018, I put out Not Dead Yet with What's Up Paul, who is an incredible producer. And I actually just found him on SoundCloud, like uh, young kid. I think he was like 22 or something at the time. And I just loved his beats. I just loved his beats so much. And I just filmed a video of me freestyling to one of his beats. And I sent him the video on Instagram. And he was like, yo, this is sick. Let's record this. and then we just became friends, and we made a whole album together where we kind of co-wrote it, where half of them were beats that he made previously, and then the other half I would just come in with my ukulele, or I'd bring a guitar player, and we would just kind of compose and kind of create this whole record together.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I felt like, oh wow, I'm more than just rapping. I'm also like producing. This was the first time I really felt like a producer, having Paul's like expertise and the types of sounds that he's been working on, and then bringing in some kind of like more weird, more weird folky elements to that. And then I have a bunch of really talented friends who also help along. A lot of my music is co-produced by Peter Herman, who like writes a lot of guitar and bass on a lot of my songs. And yeah, there's just tons of collaborators. So my whole world is kind of helped and constructed by my friends. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's collaboration is a big part of your story, right?
Yeah.
And I
Huge.
think if you learn a lesson to learn that I think I've learned from observing the collaborations you've been able to do is you have a lot of artistic empathy, if that makes sense. You can be around an artist and understand exactly what's special about them, and it makes you happy. It makes you happy that they're special. And so you that joy fills you, and you're able to bring what you do, and it just makes the collaboration great. So you have a relationship with Emma Ivy that's different than the relationship with Tark, right?
Yeah.
But like they're both special, and they're both in different ways. Whereas someone who wasn't as empathic would take similar songs to each one, if that makes sense. Like you understand the skill set of everybody, and like that takes a lot of empathy, I think.
Yeah. I don't even know if I actually understand it as much as it just happens.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm very like lucky or fortunate that my friends are just super talented, and we just have fun together. We co-write together, and a lot of the stuff I've done with Tark and with Emma Ivy have been all like freestyles. Like
Mhm.
the basis of all of our songwriting has us been just hanging out, and I just hit record on my cell phone voice memo, and then we just freestyle a song, and then we we like it, and then we like have to like learn it. We have to like learn what we just improved and then re-record it.
So
But
the collaborators have an active part in the creation of the song.
oh, absolutely, yeah,
Ah, okay.
absolutely.
Because a lot of
Especially
times an artist, what they'll do is they'll have a track, they'll create the track, and then be like, oh, so and so would sound good on it.
yeah, sometimes it's that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that with with like my friend, you know, it's like that with a lot of different vocalists. Like sometimes I'll have a song that's like 75% done, and then I'll send it, like Stephen King and Moxie on the new record. I had that completely done as just a solo track, and then I sent it to Chesky. I sent him like 3 songs. I was like, hey, do you like any of these songs? Do you want to like write to any of these songs? And he was like, oh, I want that one.
Yep.
So then he just wrote a verse to it in response to what I had already made, what Paul had already made, what John Zebley helped engineer, and like we did drops together and like created. Yeah, we just created most of the song, and then Chesky kind of dropped in and added some, added to it. So, but with like Emma and Tark, a lot of the songs we made together, we just come up with in the moment, and sometimes they're so good to us that we're like, oh, we don't want to change anything. Actually, this is perfect. This is perfect the way it is. Let's just leave it as a voice memo on my phone and put that on the record.
Yep.
And so that's happened a bunch of times.
No, it's and Kay, when we were at the Strange Famous show, I was like very close to the stage, and I think you had talked about like you had asked maybe if anybody had suggestions for songs that you would play, and I yelled "Small Creature," uh, and you were like, "Oh, good pick," but no, we can't. And it was I just kept playing "Small Creature" like last year, um, because of exactly what we were talking about. it felt like being in a moment where people are creating. It didn't necessarily, it's just, you know what I mean? It didn't
That's
feel
exactly
like,
what it was, Daniel. Emma and I couldn't sing you that song. We would have to like listen to it a bunch of times to know it because we didn't write any of those lyrics down or melodies or anything. Like we
oh,
tried to play it. We were gonna play it at a show, and we were like listening to it, and like we were just like, nah, let's just make up something new.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's that, I mean, that kind of like joy and spontaneity and warmth is something you just don't get from a lot of music, especially now, like where you can polish it really well,
Mm.
and vocal effect it and do everything like that. Being able to be joyfully naked in your music is like
Yeah.
really a brave thing to do in 2024.
Thanks.
So yeah, but this so the reason I would say Time to Kill is the lessons learned from Mourning Travels is
Mm.
because the the hard shit is so much harder. The tender shit is so much more dazzling. And so like all the extremes of it are are more in a way to me.
That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these songs have been done for years.
Right.
You know, I wrote when I started writing Healing Hurts in 2020, I wrote like 65 songs.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of them will never be heard. A lot of them are trashed. A lot of them were just I just wrote every single day for a long time. And then I compiled all these poems and songs um, and then I just started picking out ones that felt good together. So like some of the songs on this record were written that long ago, you know, and then some of them were written a lot more recently. Um, but the
And
formula, but yeah, like the formula of Healing Hurts and Morning Travels and Time to Kill were all kind of me learning that like my ADHD in my personality is very similar to like my musical taste and like the way that I like to digest art and content is very much like the way that I feel emotions and the way I deal with like conflict and struggle and happiness and confusion in my life. And so when I make a record, I'm using that formula to kind of like not do just one of anything because life is much more complex.
Right.
And I want my art to be kind of like hard to digest yet like sweet, so that it's like it's like desirable and hard to digest at the same time.
Right.
hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a lot of listens, Kay, to understand why Sandwiches ends the album. Because the album was so hard to me in the beginning. It was so, and I was like, oh, this is so crazy. And I was like, Sandwiches is so light and pretty. And like I was and but I think this week listening to it for this interview, I was like, I get it now. I get it. I get it. I understand. It, it needs to be there. It's interesting like that. How did you go about sequencing this, Miles?
Well, I can tell you a joyous mistake I made.
Do it.
So this is a flop. This is some lore
Mhm.
on the Time to Kill release. Did you listen to it on Bandcamp or on
Bandcamp, buddy.
Spotify?
Bandcamp.
Oh, have you ever listened to it on Spotify?
Never.
Interesting.
I'm a Bandcamp person. So there was you said there was like a song that was not loaded onto the Spotify.
Yes. So instead of just like fixing it, I
Yeah.
decided it was just a joke because my whole life is a joke. Anytime something goes wrong, I just laugh. I'm just like, I can't believe I did that. You know, like I can't
Yeah.
believe I'm responsible for this. So instead of trying to like correct it, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it be the way it is. and it'll be a part of the lore. But I uploaded the wrong version of Sandwiches to Spotify. So the one that you heard
Yep.
has like banjo and
Yep.
guitar and bass and washboard, and Emma Ivy is singing on it, and it's beautiful. It's like this
Mhm.
whole orchestra of like soft and gentle instruments, and it's like, and the one on Spotify is just me and my ukulele. No one
Wow.
else is on the song. So it's a rough scratch demo that I sent to all these musicians to play over and to like learn the song. So I meant it for only to be heard by like 4 people ever. And now it's on the record on Spotify. And so then I re-released the other version, the the initial
Right.
version with all the amazing musicians on it as the Friends version, as a
Right.
single on Spotify. So if you have it on Bandcamp, it's the full thing the way it's supposed to be, and Spotify is like kind of fucked up, which is funny. But
That is
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
so
That is wild.
yeah, I ended it on that because well, that song is kind of what tied the whole, was like the whole theme, built the whole theme of the album on, and uh, yeah, I kind of, when I wrote the song, I was thinking about my friend Robert Kelly, who passed away this year. Um, he was just like a really good friend of mine, and you know, we'd talk on the phone all the time, and he just had such urgency about him. You know, he just always had a sense of like telling me he cared about me all the time, you know, and telling me all this nice stuff, and like always wanting to hang out and always wanting to like make music together, um, and he would just call me out of nowhere, just out of the blue. He'd just call, be like, "Hey, I was just thinking of you,"
Right.
you know, and he
Right.
would just like do that all the time. And then I talked to him almost every day the last week of his life because he, you know, he had cancer. He knew he was gonna die soon.
Right.
He didn't know how soon, but he just knew. He was just like, "Yeah, this surgeries aren't going well. These things aren't going well." So I talked to him every day, and it just, um, I'm just so glad that I like had those moments with him.
Yeah.
Um, and so like ending the album in that soft, gentle like reminder that like, you know, you should call your friend that you're thinking of right now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you should,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't need an excuse, right? You don't need a reason. Just call for any reason at all. Like you never know. Um, and so I wanted that to, you know, compared to the harsh, brash songs I have that are very
Yeah.
like, I don't know, maybe a little more aggressive or even violent in some cases. I wanted to end the record on something soft and kind of embracing, for the reason of like going through, you know, whether it's grief or,
Right.
you know, any sort of hardship. Um, I think like having that soft container can be really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, the joy is finite, but the pain is finite too. So if you get a chance when it passes, you know, party, pull out your ukulele and sing a song and have a good time. Like, you
Yeah.
know, you get that time, you might as well. And I think that's what clicked for me. Really, I was like, oh, that makes sense. You know, this is the end. Um, yeah. So it's good. Kay, how did you feel about going through these albums and the progression to get to Time to Kill? What do you
Yeah, I liked Time to Kill because I thought that the album before it was a little bit slower. I mean, there were some parts that were how do I say it? That had a little bit more like I guess were a little bit more kinetic, had more energy to it.
yeah.
But I thought Time to Kill it was a little bit there's a little bit more energy in it.
And I think it starts like I think Miles, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you started using some more like trap style beats
Mhm.
and now mixing them with you have the trap style beats and the volume very comfortable in that space and using that and then you have the acoustic stuff
The folk, right?
and you so you can balance against it. It's really cool.
All those trap beats are all Paul. Those are all What's Up, Paul.
That's awesome.
He did
Mm.
Wrote My Will on a Chalkboard. He
Yep.
did Stephen King. He did Not a Metaphor. Yeah, those are like the most trappy beats on the.
But,
Yeah.
so where, like, how much of Time to Kill was made during the first the well I keep forgetting the name of the what was the
Oh,
album
Healing
that you made
Hurts.
during COVID?
The
Oh
2020.
yeah, Healing Hurts. Yeah.
Healing Hurts, yes. Because you said there was kind of like an overlap. How
Yeah,
much of
there's a
Time to Kill was made at the same time as Healing?
yeah, a couple of the songs. Um yeah, a couple yeah, just a couple of the songs.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of it was newer. Working with the same producers has also been really nice. Like I worked with Becky Krill, who produced Hypothermic Anvil, which is like the first song on Mourning Travels. Also produced the first song on Time to Kill, which is Ice Cream.
Yeah.
So Becky, so that's another connecting piece of the lore is that Becky Krill's beat started Mourning Travels and um, Time to Kill. And Emma Ivy also is like a closer. Like I usually like
Yeah.
Emma Ivy's been on, you know, the end of pretty much all my records.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
I mean, there was that one like freestyle I did on Healing Hurts, but yeah, so Emma Ivy's on Afraid to Love on Healing Hurts and Small Creature on Morning Travels, and then on Sandwiches on Time to Kill. So there's a couple of like through lines and um,
Yeah, so I did have a question. So when you do you ever go back and listen to your albums, or are you more like, you create it and then you just keep moving forward?
that's a good question. Yeah, I listen to my music quite a bit, especially because I'm a full time performing artist. So I tour and I perform songs, 100 days a year. So I don't perform all of them, but there's a few that I have to like really listen to a lot to embody and be able to like perform them. Um, but yeah, I don't just like sit down and like listen through full records very often.
Right.
Um, Not because I have any like weird thing against it. Like it's mostly I just don't have time.
Mm.
Mostly I'm just doing other things or like writing new stuff or listening to my friends' new music or things like that. But definitely before I release a record, I listen to it a billion times to make sure it's the way I want it. And then by that time, I'm like, okay, what's next? I get a little like, you get a little desensitized to the thing. So it's nice to like revisit it later.
Well,
Uh, like a year after it's released, I'll like sit down and listen
yeah,
to it.
because I think, and I guess the part two of my question is, so for Morning, like, have you ever listened to Morning Travels, and if so, like, what goes through your mind when you hear that record again?
Yeah, definitely listen to all the records. I'm really happy. I'm proud that I put the songs out.
Hmm.
There's a good chance I could never have released any music ever. I could have just stopped. I could have just chosen to feel insecure about it and like hide it and not share it with the world, and that would have been fine too. I think that's the thing about releasing music is like if you do it, it doesn't matter. And if you don't do it, it also doesn't matter. So like you might as well do it. Because I realized that like I was really shy and worried about releasing Healing Hurts. Um, and then it had such a overwhelming like positive response, people connecting, people writing me messages like every week telling me how impactful it's been or how they listen to it when they're depressed or dealing with mental health issues, or they lost their best friend or they lost their dad or they lost someone close to them. So then by the time I put out Morning Travels, it was like, oh, people actually are resonating with this stuff. So it's not just about me and like, who cares if I'm shy or insecure? Like that doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna put it out, and if people love it, they do, and if they don't, it doesn't matter. Like I love it, you know. And so I think by the time I put this record out, like I'd already built in a lot of confidence around, like I love these songs, you know, like it matters to me. So like if anyone else likes it, that's an extra, you know, that's a plus. And
Right. Right.
yeah,
You've got the catharsis going either way. Yeah.
yeah,
I was, it was, and the cool thing, okay, because as Miles said, the ADHD blueprint, right, of like all directions, conveyed within the album. Um, Everybody has a different favorite point of entrance
mhm.
because there's so many different entry points. Um, I remember I was asking my son what his favorite Myles Bullen song is, and he said "Memories" with Jesse the Tree.
Hell yeah.
I was like, "You're 10. That's a quiet, contemplative, nostalgic song. Like, wow, good for you." I was not
Yeah.
expecting. So
Yeah, that's a fun one. Yeah, I love Jesse. Jesse and I have made a lot of music together over the years. He always makes me want to write differently too, which is another thing I love about collaborating is every person I work with, they kind of like spark up a different part of my brain.
yeah,
Like when I'm with someone who's more of like a folk singer, I'm trying to think like, oh, how do I tell a story and like be melodic, like try to be more melodic. But when I'm with someone like Jesse, I'm like, oh, how do I write bars, you know, like how do I write like interesting metaphors and wordplay and still be melodic, because Jesse's also very melodic,
yeah.
which is what separates him from a lot of like um rappers in our circle. Is like
Mhm.
he's got an amazing voice, and he hasn't even been flexing on it recently, but
Right.
he can sing like really well.
And he,
like
and
like
he,
Jesse intimidates me when he sings. I'm like, dang, I wish I could sing as good as him, you know. So I love when somebody like makes me want to be a better artist and like
right.
work on my skills. um,
And you two both have the ability to kind of bounce at whatever tempo you need to.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
I think that's another separating factor. Is like a lot of New England MCs will find their pocket and stay there. Um, and having the ability to go outside of that is a real gift.
Mhm.
I think Jesse listens to a lot of music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why he's sharp and can like be adaptable, because he listens to a lot of music, a lot of genres, like a lot of different styles, a lot of different performances. He pulls from several different galaxies, you know? He pulls from different atmosphere, different climates, different
Mhm.
everything. Um
What were some of your inspirations uh when you first got started?
when I first got started,
Yeah, or I mean even now, like because I feel like your the music, it's like you said, there's a lot of genres in your album. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see like where did you initially get some of the inspiration from?
Yeah, I started going to like metal shows when I was a teenager, like screamo, uh, pop punk, screamo, emo bands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I guess like going to shows like that, hardcore shows. Um, I got a lot of influence just from people who are like uh, very loudly expressing themselves, you know, to the
Mm-hmm.
maximum expression.
The Geno's
Visceral,
cinematic universe is that the
huh?
Geno's Orland? Is your Geno's cinematic universe there?
I didn't go to Geno's. I went
Oh,
to the
okay.
station,
Station. Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
because that was the only venue that was doing all age hardcore shows back in the day. There was no all ages shows happening anywhere else. It was the station. That was the one spot.
Mm.
And I was friends with this band who would like open for other bands, and they would play shows at the station, and I was like 15, and I would go to all their shows. It was really cool. Yeah. So that was kind of that, and then getting into, you know, hip hop, getting into poetry, spoken word poetry, um, and then really just settling for like the Moldy Peaches, like, you know, Kim Ya Dawson, listening to anti folk,
Yep.
Jeffrey Lewis, um, just like listening to people play guitar and like um I don't know, just like kind of sing in an interesting way, a way that's not even like that good. Like they don't have like perfect voices. They don't,
Right.
you know what I mean? They just sound like human beings who are like telling stories in a creative way. And I just thought that was so cool. And I thought that was way harder than any of the rappers who were like battle rapping or
Right. Right. Right.
loud and misogynistic and homophobic and
Yep.
being angry. I was like, oh, it's way harder to be quiet and vulnerable. To like
Mm.
talk about your fucking friend who died. You know, like
Right.
that's
Right.
way
Right.
harder. That's way more impressive. That's way more real to me.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like in and out of those scenes of like trying to be a rapper, and then I was like, wait a minute, no one here. I don't like any of this. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. Thank you.
identify with
Thank
any
you.
of this stuff. And I was always
Oh,
kind
man.
of a little like soft and like a little, you know,
Yeah.
um, eccentric, colorful. And then, yeah, so then I kind of just abandoned rap for a while and was like, okay, I want to just go into spoken word poetry or listen to folk music and so I kind of zip zapped back and forth between those two worlds to pull inspiration when I came to like writing my own songs.
Yeah. I mean, that. Thank you for saying that. There, it makes me feel better because there was definitely a point in the Portland hip hop scene where I couldn't go anymore. And it was just like it was men in giant coats yelling homophobic slurs at each other. And I was
Yeah,
like, I'll stay home, you know?
it's a different time.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that shit won't happen anymore. Like that won't
right.
fly anymore. Like people
No,
get
it's different
kicked
now.
out
Yeah.
now. Not around here,
And
you know.
shout out to the people, um, Monday of the Minds and all the people who like really are careful with who they do business with and who they get, and people are much more tuned in now. So it's yeah.
Absolutely love Monday the Minds, love Zach and everybody
Yep.
there. Yeah, they created something really special, and
Yep. So
yeah,
yeah, there's some tracks on Time to Kill K that I think are essential to the mix.
Mm.
And I don't know if other people would see them that way, but I like feel like they have to be there for it to be what it is, right? Um, I would start with like the one that scared my cat today. The
Mhm.
cat comes over and cuddles with me during work, but I put up maple syrup and he was like, "I'll talk to you later. Like I'll catch you later." Maple syrup was too much, and it's just so you like the darkness, the hostility in this album has to have like a full expression, right? And that
yeah,
maple syrup feels like that to me. I don't know if I'm right.
yeah. That's definitely the most aggressive song I've ever made in my life.
Yeah, that's
um, Thanks to Moody Black, who produced the track. She sent me the beat, and I wrote to it immediately, recorded it as soon as possible. Um, and I've been a huge fan of her work for forever. You know, through Fake Four, I found out about Moody Black, and I never thought it'd be something I would like resonate with or like do. I was always
Mhm.
just like a fan of like, oh wow, that's a cool thing that's happening. Very different than what I'm doing. Like almost completely opposite as what I'm doing. But then as I've started to like scream a lot more in my performances of maybe my softer songs on recordings, but I've been a lot more like yelly and screaming. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I could just make a full on screamo rap track.
Yeah.
Like maybe
Yeah.
I actually do have that in me. So that's why. So then I reached out and was really lucky to get that production and to work on it and to record it with John Zebley, who is an amazing engineer. He's been like in my corner for going on 6 years now. Since Not Dead Yet, I started working with him, and he kind of like helped me really like push the obscurity and like the abstract nature of having multiple vocal tracks happening at once, multiple lyrics happening at the same time. So like no matter how many times you listen to it, you'll never really hear the full thing. You have to listen to
Right.
it multiple times to kind of uncover all of the different pieces. And he's really masterful at like seeing a crazy vision I have and being like, okay, let's make it work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Speaking of vision, like what was your vision for Time to Kill?
What was my vision?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have like a unified idea of what you wanted it to be? Was there a song you made that kind of led you to what the album was?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, not really. It's just kind of just kind of worked out.
That's cool.
I knew I wanted to like make more. I knew that I wanted to continue the same format as I used with Mourning Travels, of kind of like the radio dial, kind of switching from station to station. But yeah, the theme would be just the song Sandwiches, the lyrics in that song. The whole concept of the album is kind of wrapped around like urgency, do it now kind of energy.
So this was more like you consciously feeling I am in the right direction here, so I'm going to keep going. Like,
yeah, or just like a message to myself. I lost so many people in the last few years. I've dealt with like an epic amount of grief, like the most, like my entire life, up until like I turned 28, was already filled with a lot of grief, but definitely the last 3 years have been like double, double what the rest of my life was, with losing friends and people I care about. And so this was kind of just a reminder to myself that like um, I need to love fully right now. I need to forgive. I need to love fully, so that I don't live with any regrets. And part of that is like putting out the music that I like. And the other part of it is just to keep writing down these eulogies, for people who are still here. Like the living eulogy is another thing. It's just like I want to appreciate people now. I want to appreciate myself now. I want to appreciate the people in my life now. I don't want to be, feel regret that I didn't tell, somebody. Yeah. So a lot of this record is kind of built on that spontaneity and that urgency.
Yeah, a grateful life is a good deal. And see, if you can be grateful for the people around you, it's a good deal. Yeah, for everybody, really. So, yeah, that's interesting. And the other one I was going to bring into the mix here that I think is a fucking cool song is Heart on Fire. God damn it. Heart on Fire is like it's like a real song from another genre. It's like that's like, if I put that on and didn't tell somebody it was Myles Bullen, they'd be like, "Hey, who's this band?" Like it would, it's I love that song.
Thanks. That was a random one. My friend Torbjorn
Yep.
sent me that beat and I just wrote to it really quickly. That was like one of the quickest songs I wrote on the album. Actually, both the songs I did with Torbjorn were really quick. He also produced Cherry Blossom Trees.
Cherry Blossom Trees.
Yeah, we literally met he came to my show. He played the same show as me in Seattle or Tacoma or somewhere. We played a show together, and then me and Chris Conde were on tour. We had just met like that day or the
Yep.
day before. So we were new friends on tour together. And then this other person, Tor Bjorn, was like, "Hey, you can crash at my house." And we're like, "Cool." So like the three of us are all kind of strangers. We all just kind of met. And then we sleep at his house. It's amazing hospitality. And then we wake up. He makes us breakfast. He did that like traditional Hawaiian like spam in the rice. It's like spam
Wow.
rice, and it's like wrapped in seaweed. Uh, it's amazing.
Sounds good.
It was actually really good.
No kidding.
So he made us breakfast, and then we were sitting on the couch in the living room. He's got a studio just in his living room, and then he just makes us a beat in 15 minutes. And I'm writing lyrics. Chris is like writing, and we record the whole song in like maybe 2 hours, like start to finish. And so like that was our relationship. Was like we just met, we cooked up a song, recorded it, and then Chris and I had to hit the road to leave and go like do another show. And then he sent us both some beats, and then Chris wrote a song to one of their beats, and then I wrote to Heart on Fire around the same time. It was really cool. But yeah, both of those things were very spontaneous and came out of nowhere.
That's really cool. Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Conde, great on Cherry Blossom Trees.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about this, when that song comes on, I never recognize it until the beat drops.
Yeah.
I'm always like, what? Which one is this? The beat drops. I'm like, oh, okay, Cherry Blossom Trees. It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I love Chris. And Chris and I are really funny. We both come from metal. Like we both come from a metal background. So a lot of the screaming gang vocals is like us
Yep.
being kind of silly, but also it's like comes from where
Comes from
like
a
it's
natural
very
place.
nostalgic for us. Yeah, like we really embrace our metal sides,
Yep.
especially in that one.
Yeah. No, it's that. So, and Kay, one of the things that I got into hip hop because of was pure expressions of feeling, right? Like you were getting unbridled feelings from people, you know? And like there's a wonderful Mia X album that's just about her sister dying and how terrible it is. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's like you would really connect with people, and I think this album has these unbridled expressions of feeling, not just remorse. I think my favorite song on here is Not a Metaphor.
Wow.
Because that's who I am. And maybe it's because I didn't expect that from you, or
Yeah.
that it was just it starts so hardcore. Like it's just like I would rather starve to death than listen to you rappers. And I've got people that would kill for me, and then you whisper it's not a metaphor. I'm like, oh shit! Like it was, yeah, that was awesome. It was I didn't take it as a battle rappy shadow battle thing. I took it as like I fucking care about this, and I'm you can't fuck with me here. I'm good at this. And so that's how I took it. But I love that song dearly.
That's wow. That's really sweet. Yeah, that was me stepping into a different world. And like, I pull a lot of inspiration from the Ruby Yacht, from Rap Ferreira
Yep.
and Pink Navel, SB the
Yep.
Moore, Vastness, all those cats, Kenny Siegel.
Mm-hmm.
I pull a lot of inspiration from them. I love all those guys so much. I think their music is like that's at the highest tier it can be. I think their like writing is so good, and so yeah, like that sort of claiming oneself as like
Yeah.
the one to do it. I definitely pull from their kind of confidence in that. Um, because a lot of my stuff hasn't really centered on that, but that one definitely does.
Yep.
And yeah, so shout outs to them for inspiring me to believe in myself in that way again.
Yeah. no kidding. It's and I love Keshi on the Stephen King of Moxie, but I have to say there is nothing like Micah 9 finding a relationship with a beat. Like
Yeah, Micah
when Mike
9.
when
That
Micah
was
9 raps, it is as if he is like it's as if he's dating the beat and you're watching the relationship unfold. Like,
yeah. His flow is so, you never know what the hell he's gonna do.
it's amazing.
Like I thought he was gonna like do some crazy triplet wild, you know.
Mhm.
He was like very slow and like
Yep.
deliberate and like, yeah, I love it. I love Micah 9. Huge
Oh,
fan. And the fact that he you know, liked the song and wanted to be a part of it was really cool for me.
I've told I've told we were sitting with I think we were talking to someone and I was like, if I could have one rapper's voice, it would be Micah 9, right?
Yeah.
Just as an instrument, he trusts himself as an instrument and just figures out the beat, um, and just does what he wants with it. And there was, ghetto whore, wetting up the floor. This is incredible, insane stuff. Um, what was it? What was it like to get that verse back? Was the song mostly done and you got that back and you were like, wow.
Yeah, I sent him the song and he was like, "This is awesome." And then in like a week, he sent it to me. It was like the quickest turnaround ever. Like, yeah,
Whew.
he's just such a prolific person and
Right.
super kind. Yeah, I just lucked out. I just hit the lottery, you know. I just really lucked out on this whole record. All the collaborators, all the producers and vocal features and
Yeah.
instrumentalists. Like, I got to work with one of my favorite washboard players on Sandwiches. Like, the washboard on that song is the highlight of the whole song, and
Awesome.
that's from the washboard player of Doom Scroll, which
Oh,
is one of my favorite bands now, and they're all my friends. But before they were all my friends, I thought they were a really cool band.
yeah.
Uh, and Taylor from Doom Scroll, you know, I reached out to her and was like, "Hey, would love to play music with you." And then she's like, "Yeah, send me something." And I sent it to her, and she sent me something like pretty soon, like, and again, like pretty immediately back. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is my favorite thing ever." Because it's like, the washboard is like, it's an instrument that like can sound awful, but
Right.
she is like such a pro and like really tuned in on like making it a rhythmic expression, making it a voice, giving that instrument a voice. And so yeah, I just feel super lucky for all the
With all the talk of collaborations, it made me think that like because I've talked to people in the local scene a lot of times who were very talented but had a tough time finding a producer that could push them, that could produce, not just give them beats but produce.
yeah.
And like finding that circle around them that could, surprise them and motivate them and challenge their talent. Uh, and it feels like you've cracked that code. And so when you're talking about the randomness of the song or the spontaneity of the song, it's you found really talented people. They surprised you with something new. It got you going. You
Yeah.
trusted the direction, and you got to an interesting place on the other side. Is am I onto something, or
Yeah.
is that not real?
Yeah, I just think like the more time you spend doing it, the better it'll get, with anything. Like whenever I'm jamming, playing music with other people or freestyling a lot, whenever I'm like exercising, you know,
Oof.
um,
Well,
being creative just becomes easier.
Has
There's a,
your creative process evolved or changed since you've released more records?
yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, that's a great question. So like, be I kind of don't believe in the like when inspiration hits whole theory of like, oh, I can only write when I'm inspired.
Mhm.
Because to me that's just like not, that's like saying like, Oh, I'm only gonna get in shape when I feel like I want to work out or something. You know what I mean? It's like, or I'm only gonna eat good like when like once a week, and then I'll feel healthy or whatever it is. It's like you got to do it. It's like the more reps you put in, the easier being inspired gets, the easier creativity comes. So like I do it when I'm not feeling inspired. Like I write when I don't want to write. I write when I'm angry or when I'm sad or when I'm happy or when I'm bored or when I have nothing to write about. Or I'll go out and listen to music and use listening to music or going to shows as creative research. Like going to a show is not passive for me. It's a very active thing. Listening to
Mm.
music is a very active thing. It's a part of my creativity process of like pulling resources and pulling ideas. So like yeah, so I'm always kind of drawing from things. I'm always pulling from things. And therefore when it goes to like write songs, it's not as hard. It's not like starting from nowhere anymore like it used to be when I would only write if I was inspired or if I'm only write when I'm sad, or whatever the thing is. Now it's like, oh, there's no excuse. Like if I put in the work, I'm gonna do more work. Like more results are gonna come out, even if they're not the ones I like.
Right.
Like I said, I might write 60 songs in a year, but that doesn't mean, maybe 20 of them I end up keeping. But I wouldn't have got to those 20 if I didn't go through the 40 that sucked.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, so
You-
that's how my creativity has changed. Is like as I put out more records, I realize like the more I do it, the better I get at it. So I want to keep staying consistent with like creating things and not
'Cause-
worry about the result as much as like the process of doing it.
Interesting, because you brought up something that, I mean, I think our show, we've kind of been harking on this for this year. It's like a theme we've been harking on in terms of the prolific artists. Like now with music being so like it's so easy to release to the public, a lot of artists are releasing a lot of music continuously.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think people should do whatever the hell they want, and
Right.
it doesn't matter what people think about it.
So
Like,
how do you know, like you said you created 60 songs, why not release all 60 songs?
good point. Um, I think, yeah, I think for me, there's a lot of different reasons why I do and don't do things.
Hmm.
Um, and usually it's spontaneous and irrational why I do things. So like, um, I put out Healing Hurts. Originally, before I put out Healing Hurts, I sent it to Chesky and I asked if Fake Four would put it out, and he was like, "Oh, this is a great record, but like we have a ton of stuff lined up and we wouldn't be able to put it out for like a year, so you should just do it on your own." I was like, "Okay," and then I did, and it was awesome, and it was like my best selling record, and it was reached the most people. It was like really good for me. But like I had that ability to just do whatever I wanted, you know. And then when I went to put out Mourning Travels, I had to wait like 6 months or 7 months to put it out, even though it was already done.
Hmm.
I sent it to, oh well, we're gonna have to put it out, in 7 months. So like then I waited, and I put out like a couple of things here and there, like a couple singles, but I wasn't gonna like release a bunch of music when knowing that like I had the anticipation of this record that Fake Four was gonna help me promote and like help fund the merch, buying the records, all these things that like Fake Four helped with. I wanted to respect you know, their system and how they do things.
Mm.
So I like didn't put out as much music as I probably would have just on my own, you
Hmm.
know? And then after I put the record out, same thing. Like I still had like a whole album done. Um, but I wasn't just gonna like I wanted to give Mourning Travels a lot of time and space because I knew it was a special album, and I didn't want to flood my fans with like, oh well, here's the next thing. Oh well, here's the next thing. Oh well, here's the next thing, right? Which some artists can just do that. Like there are artists who put out a song every day for the whole year. They got put out 365 songs a year, and that can work for some people. I'm kind of like in the middle of like put out one album every 4 years and put out a song every day. I'm like right in the middle of like, I
That
think
makes
both
sense.
of those things are valuable depending on what your situation is and what you're trying to achieve um, within your own fan base or your own reach. But what do I think about other people doing it or what people think about me doing it? It doesn't fucking matter. Like,
Right.
Mm.
I'm
Right.
gonna do whatever the fuck I want, and other artists are gonna do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
And you know, I know artists who put out one song for 5 years, you know, and that might be the one song, you know, like, so yeah,
I mean, you bring up a great point in terms of whatever you're doing, understand that you're going to have to adjust yourself to it, right? The artist that releases one album every 5 years is living a very different lifestyle from the one who releases one every 2 months, right?
Mm.
That there's a very different lifestyle and necessitates a different kind of set of priorities, you know.
yeah,
So you just need to adjust yourself to where you are. If you're hanging back, but you're releasing a ton of music, it might not hit the way you want it to hit, right?
right.
You still have to guide that, you know. Uh, so yeah, just be present in your planning, I guess.
I also, yeah, I also don't believe that like holding on to stuff is valuable as much as I used to think. You know, it's like because things change so much, because people's attention spans are so short, you should be promoting the same record for 5 years. You know, you should be promoting the same song. You got one song can live forever. You know, there's
Mhm.
songs like as we've seen with streaming, we've seen with television and Netflix and things like a song from the fucking 90s is like famous now, that blows up now. You know,
Mhm.
it's like there's no timeline on this stuff. It's not linear. So like that's why I encourage new artists who are like worried about releasing too much music or whatever, just to put it all out until something hits. And then when something hits, then you can be a little more strategic. Then you can maybe rein it in. But if nothing you're doing is making impact, then you haven't done enough yet. You know what I mean? It's not like holding on to a
Mm.
song is going to make you blow up. It's like that's the opposite. You will
Right.
never get anyone's attention with a song that just lives on your computer. You know, it's like so that's kind of my mentality is like the throw all the darts until one sticks and then figure out why that dart stuck, you know? Figure
Right.
out why I hit that time and try to do
Mm.
that again. So like singles work for me. Like I would release a single like every couple weeks. There was a few months where I was just dropping singles like crazy or like little EPs, 2 song EPs. And maybe two of them like people weren't listening to or wouldn't get exposed to, and then one would hit really high on my Spotify algorithm. One would get picked up by Discover Weekly or Release Radar, and like 10 times the amount of people would see it and hear it and share it and listen to it. And it wasn't necessarily the song's quality, it was just like the momentum I was building with releasing often.
Yeah. No,
So I do believe in both. I do believe in the like, you know, push the one album every single day, tour hard, you know, get people to remix shit, like push that one thing if it's special, but also like keep putting shit out until something hits.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the balanced approach. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things when you're talking about putting stuff out, don't be afraid to put stuff out, is you have to be willing to, you have to learn to fall in love with your mistakes. You have to learn that to love the ambition your mistakes had, right? Your mistakes were trying to be great, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can find the heart of what you love about that mistake, it can actually lead you to your best work. Um, so I think that's an important part of that process.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is great stuff. You know, I appreciate it. I think I'm so glad that you were consciously building on it and it made sense. And, you know, these songs came together. Um, shout out to the Sage Francis story of God or Not.
Yeah, that wasn't. I didn't get that from permission. I stole that.
What a great, great bumper on that. That's yeah.
Yeah, I stole that from Sage.
I'm
He,
so
he
glad
did.
I don't have to lie about Santa Claus anymore. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Oh,
yeah. He actually. That's actually taken from the Duncan Trussell podcast he was on. Did you?
oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Duncan Trussell has this amazing podcast, and Sage was a guest, and I was listening to it, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, this would be sick for my song," and I just just stole it. But I told him, he's obviously heard the record. I told him about it, and he just thought it was funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Sage is good.
He didn't press charges yet.
No, that's wait on the litigation.
Yeah,
But you know,
cease,
it's
cease and desist.
yeah. I'm so happy to get the continuation of the Winnie the Pooh saga, the
Yeah.
Tigger song.
Whoa. Yeah.
It's great, you know, because
You know.
I wholeheartedly believe, Miles, that everyone you meet is a Winnie the Pooh character of some sort.
Well, Daniel, when you say the continue of the Winnie the Pooh saga, what are you drawing from? What do you
I
mean
thought
by that?
Small Creature was about Winnie the Pooh.
Small Creature, yeah, is about Piglet.
Oh, it's about Piglet. Oh man,
And that's on
Mourning Travels. Yeah,
that's on Morning Travels, but also in the beginning of Roses and Rain, I mentioned Winnie the Pooh
right.
on how lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. That's also a Winnie the Pooh quote.
Oh wow.
Yep. And then the Tigger song is a Winnie the Pooh reference.
Yep.
So yeah, there's been a lot of Winnie the Pooh. There's
Were
Adventure
you
Time.
were you just a fan of Winnie the Pooh growing up, or is there something that resonates with you?
It's actually something I came into as an adult. I started reading the books in my early 20s, and then reading the Tao of Pooh, which is like a full philosophical analysis of Winnie the Pooh and Taoism, like the Tao Te Ching text, and it's like a book that's written where it meshes the two together. It's really cool. I highly recommend that book, the Tao of Pooh.
I've circled the book. I've just never gotten to it. I really want to do that.
It's fun. It's a really fun read.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's cool. And yeah, just keep playing in your sandbox and building what you built.
Hell yeah.
Do you have more questions, Kay, or do you want to go to
No, man.
recommendation? This thing. First, we're talking about Mike at 9. I was listening to Timetable from 2001, I believe. It's just the joy of rapping, it just 100 different ways, 100 different speeds with all these people, and it's live, a lot of it, and it's just fabulous. It's a great way to feel the power of what Mike and 9 does.
Hell yeah.
If that makes sense. So that would be my first recommendation. Let's go with there's a lot of good stuff. Let's, you know what? I'm gonna keep it Backwoods Studios here with Cavalier is dropping a new album on April 19th. That is gonna be incredible.
Hell yeah.
So everybody should really tune into that. Cav is such a mysterious figure in terms of just pops in and pops out, and does what he wants. So I was trying to figure out what the title is again. Back, yeah, but follow Backwood Studios. Check that out. It's fantastic. So, but yeah, it's like 21, 22 songs. There's a lot of great features on it, and he shreds it. So keep that going. Also, the Midnight Suns follow up with Chong Wizard and Zilla Rock is going to be out soon. So cop that as well. The
Nice.
not Miles. What are you listening to?
What am I listening to?
Yeah,
You ready for a whole list?
let's go.
Yeah.
Troll 2,
Troll 2
Troll
soundtrack.
2,
Yeah.
the Lighthouse. It's a song. Troll
Okay.
2, Lighthouse. I've been listening to Doom Scroll, who I mentioned earlier.
Roll.
Yeah, Doom Scroll. Pink Navel, How to Capture Playful with Kenny Siegel.
Kenny Siegel. Yeah.
I've been listening to Blue Raspberry, not the rapper, but the folk duo. Very different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Blue Raspberry, one word. A lot of people are like, "Whoa, Blue Raspberry from Wu Tang." I'm like, no. Wholesome married couple who sing like folk songs about mental health. It's very different.
Yes, very different. Blue
And
Raspberry, one. Yeah, okay.
Co-Defendants, obviously. Co-Defendants.
What an album.
Yeah, Co-Defendants are killing it. Justin Arena. Yeah, Justin Arena is amazing. I toured with them this past summer. They're a great friend and incredible songwriter. Local news legend. Chris Conde, of course, and Brooke Pridemore. That's my list.
Oh, Brooke Pridemore.
Yeah,
I feel like I've seen Brooke Pridemore live.
yeah. Brooke Pridemore's
Oh
playing
no,
in
Brooke
Portland.
Pridemore is on Fake 4. They released an EP that I loved.
Glad to Be Alive.
God, I love that EP. That's such a great EP.
Brooke Pridemore is going to be playing in Maine, March 30th in Portland.
What?
So, yeah.
Great. We gotta do that. I will see, but and for my local cats who are around the New England area, uh, you look up All Roads Music Festival. Miles is playing the 18th, I believe, of
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
My family will be there.
Yeah.
So come up and talk to us about music and check Miles out. The All Roads Festival is really dope. That's a really good way to it was a really great way to teach music to my son. To be like, hey, here's soul music, here's Kenya Hall performing in a church, right?
Yeah.
Like here's punk music, here's like, you know, Dead Lips, or whatever. And like just
That's
get
so
all
cool.
these different genres and for him to understand genres and what they do is really cool. So I think it's a great time for everybody. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, do that. And Kay, what do you listen to? What are you bumping?
I mean, nothing new this week. You gave me a lot of recommendations. I'm definitely gonna check out you mentioned moldy peaches. I definitely want to check out that.
Yeah. Yeah. Kimya Dawson, Moldy Peaches, Jeffrey Lewis, all that like anti-folk stuff is really
Yeah.
interesting. Cool. I think you'll dig it.
I've never I've never heard of anti-folk, but it seems intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then folk punk is also another genre, like
Mhm.
just like apes of the state, local news legend, doom
Anti-folk
scroll. Yeah.
punk. Okay.
Scroll. That's fantastic. I appreciate it. I always introduce you as the best rapper in Maine. So
That's
I
sweet.
I'll definitely repping the Stephen King and Moxie, making that into a jam is great. I don't think people really fully understand how much Moxie and Moxie memorabilia is around here. It
Yeah,
is a
people
lot,
don't even know what Moxie is that don't live in
right?
Maine.
Right. It
People
is
have
a
no
lot.
idea
It
what
is
that.
weird. Um, yeah. What was I telling? I was telling somebody that like New England is all psychedelic music and ice cream.
That's funny.
And so having navigated that world and incorporated all these new sounds is dope. So
Yeah.
Perseverance, the Myles Bullen thing.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. Anytime. Yeah. Keep us abreast of all wonderful Fake 4 news.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. And everybody, 5 stars, leave a comment. Talk to me about where you'd like to eat dinner with K Diggy.
What will tomorrow